Hi guys, and welcome. It's time for Talking Family History. And today it is the 14th of April 2023, Michelle.
And yes, a wet, sultry day where I am tipping down, and you've got a man on the roof. So if any of you hear strange noises, it's all our fault.
Yeah, exactly. You know, life goes on around us all the time, doesn't it?
It sure does.
I don't know why it interrupts genealogy at all. So let's catch up straight away with some updates for you, because we know that it's really cool to know what's happening out there. So Ancestry, quite a few little things happening here, lots of updates and a couple of new files hidden in the middle of it all. So you have some nice Irish records down there, because I know lots of you are researching in Ireland, but you've also got some updates through the USA as well. So hop on board and have a bit of a look, but the list doesn't stop there, because it goes on to the second page. And again, lots of updates with Nova Scotia, some French stuff, but also those new records there for the UK and Ireland for medical registers, which you may find some of your ancestors were doctors in. Don't know about you, Michelle, do you have any doctors?
And I found it, yes, I do, but they were trained in Edinburgh. What I do have, and they're not there because I've looked for them, but I do have a nonconformist wedding that's turned up in that latest update. So that was interesting, because I didn't realise they'd married as a Wesleyan church. Yeah, so that was cool.
Fantastic.
And
but
not
the other thing that
German.
we both noticed this week,
sorry.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
This was new.
This was new. So when you go to your hints, and I'm not sure how widespread this is, I haven't seen a lot happening out on other forums and things like that, but I'm now seeing this new version of how you see other people's family trees come up as a hint. And so this is on my McGregor Wright family tree. Most of you know about McGregor Wright, that I've been studying his family for ages. This is on his wife's side of the family. And so now when you see the family tree hints, they come up, but they only seem to give you the hint for one family tree. They're not giving you the three that we were seeing before, and they're definitely not giving you the list that we used to get once upon a time. But what it does do, if I just scroll in a bit closer, is it shows me the things that are in this family tree that are different to what I have on my own family tree. So in this case, I don't have a death date for Georgiana. I don't have a spouse for Georgiana. It's probably more because I haven't actually written a talk that needed that information. But that's my sneaky way of building talks as well. So when you click on the review button, you get to see and add information to your tree from that other person's family tree. So have a little bit of a think about that as to whether or not that works for you. I haven't seen any questions about feedback on that, so it'll be interesting to see what you think as well. What are you thinking, Michelle?
Well, a couple of things. Like, I actually want to go in and see the profile page that tree owner has before I actually do what you've just done, because I actually want to see what record she's got attached, because particularly with English records, when I just see a month written out like that, which isn't the format that I like to keep them in, I look at it and go, has they just copied an index record for a quarter? Maybe I don't want to know about this, and I want to go and check this out for myself at the GRO website. And the other thing that's interesting is how she spelt Georgiana.
Well, I think that's actually how I've got it spelled on my family tree. So it seems to be a combination of what I've got and what they've got put together, because
she's got Anna and you've got Iana. You've got an I and she hasn't.
Yeah, and when I was looking at it, I updated something on one of the trees that I was doing, and it updated what you saw on this view. So like if I added a father because I went off and checked something, then the view changed here over in the hint as well.
But it's always been like that. You might not have noticed, but we always see in the hint what we have in our tree is what's on that main hint drop down page. Yeah,
but it's also interesting to see that they're adding the new stuff in here. So it's sort of a mix of my tree and her tree in this case, in this hint image. Also interesting to see at the bottom there, you can see when the person last signed in, and the fact that this person actually has 8 trees floating around. So when I look at the name of this that says this is the Dan family old tree, there may be a new tree that may have better information in it. So I'm not seeing that to be able to go and see, is there something better? So you just need to be careful with what you've got actually being linked in there as well.
Which is why you want to always check their profile. So usually on that merge page, you get an ability to go to if you click on the old family tree link rather than actually you go to the actual tree and then go to the profile and you'll see all the trees they've got.
Yeah. So it's different, it's new, and I guess we'll find out more about it, and it will probably change again in the next couple of weeks because
we'll all get used to it, because that's what happens. Things change. We notice it. They may be irritating, and then we get used to them.
Yeah, and then we find we quite like them. The other thing I was having a look at, Michelle, I don't know if you've played on GeniaNet and looked at their Save Our Graves project. Have you been on that one?
I haven't recently, but yes, I had gone and checked it out last year at some point.
Yeah. So what I was most impressed by, though, is when you have a little bit of a look around the world, not so much for those of us down under, but look at how many graves have been done in Europe when you're looking at 39,545 graves. So if you have European ancestors, this may be the website that you need to be going and checking out to see whether the graves are there. Plus, obviously, if you're looking for something to do and you want a bit of a walk and you quite like taking photos of tombstones, you can, of course, join the project and add to those graves as well. Not
It'd be interesting if we check out in a few months what the number in Australia is and if the number in New Zealand changes.
Yeah, well, there wasn't when I zoomed in, because you can zoom in to see exactly how much is there. There wasn't that much in New Zealand, one would have to say. Most of that 161 is definitely in Australia. And jumping over to family search. So we've reorganized our slides this week just so that we can see what's coming from different areas. So there's nothing new from Australia and New Zealand, or nothing updated in the Australia and New Zealand collections. And I'm using the filters here at family search. There's a little bit in the Pacific Islands with Guam. Not a country I've ever gone researching in, I have to say. But when you jump over to UK and Ireland, and again, just remember these are updates, they aren't necessarily new records. So it could mean that something's had a few hundred records added to it. It could mean that it's a brand new collection. It's quite difficult to tell, unfortunately. But you also notice that some have the pretty camera icon over to the right-hand side, and we like those, don't we, Michelle?
We do, and when they had the other format that we could more readily give you news from, you could tell that this was the new lot of indexed records. So people are indexing these records that were just browsable before, and so usually this means we've added 2,482,691 new index records from this set that was previously only browsable, because all the data that they had was up, and it just is huge, isn't it?
Well, especially when you jump over to somewhere like continental Europe, which,
look at Croatia.
Lots of us has been the countries that we've held off doing our research in because we just couldn't access the records easily from home. But, you know, you look at the growth in some of these and it's just exciting to see.
They add so many records every week. It's pretty impressive, and it's done by volunteers.
And jumping over to the United States as well. Lots of vital records from Massachusetts, California, Texas, you know, it's all over the country. And then while we stay in the Americas, we've also got Canada and Mexico in this area as well. Nothing from Canada in this particular update period, but a little bit from Mexico.
But look at the range of states right up into the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. So it's be interesting to see how far those records really go in comparison to what's been scanned. Jumping around to the Central American area, lots of Guatemalan records in there, and down into South America as well. And then just in case you thought we'd forgot Africa, more of those Dutch Reformed Church registers. And I know I've been enjoying those for some research I've been doing. And that's really interesting. They have this little collection here called Other. And in this case, it was Find a Grave Indexes updating with more records. And that's because lots of people are out there indexing and taking photos of graves.
And that's good. There's quite a partnership between Family Search and a number of the other commercial organisations. So they get copies of their indexes updated as they're updated on the commercial sites. Well, this was an exciting start to the morning. So this is my news bit. I went to log into Findmypast and I got the incorrect email or password, and I use a password manager. So I know that this is not an incorrect password. So don't be shocked when you get this message. But what you need to do next is click on the forgotten password area, and you will get this dialog box up. Press send, and this will come up. Ignore this login page. Next screen, please. You must go to your email and now press on the button that says reset your password. So this is my email, whoops, and you'll get this login and you'll have to write a new password. So I just added an exclamation mark to the end of my old one because I know my old one off by heart.
I must admit, when this happened to me yesterday, I'm sitting there going, I'm sure I know what this password is. And I thought I was going slowly mad. So that was okay.
This is why you need a unique password on every website, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
We don't, and we have no idea why they've forced that password change on everyone, but it forced password change it is. So we have followed through and actually changed our passwords. Okay, 2 Findmypast Fridays have come and gone as well, although one of them is still in progress today. So if we go back a couple of weeks ago, they've added monumental inscriptions from a couple of different counties in the UK, and also baptisms from Essex, and 122,464 records seems quite a few to me, Michelle.
There'll be lots of my relatives in there.
Yeah, well, that's you for the weekend gone, isn't it? But also in this last week, or actually today, they're highlighting some imperial calendars. So if you have ancestors who worked in the civil service, you may find that you now have records about them as well. And a group of Durham baptisms for specific parishes. So I've put the list of parishes there for you as well. But of course, Findmypast also has that wonderful collection of newspapers, and there are lots of new titles going on. So if you're in Stratford upon Avon researching, you've got a really nice run of the Herald there. Also some early records for the Sheerness Guardian and East Kent Advertiser as well. And I know there are Kent researchers floating around in our watches. But of course, they also keep updating titles as well. So this was the huge list of extra newspapers that have gone on in the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, but then they keep going. So this week, they have also added another nearly 250,000 pages to the collection, and including the Trotting World and Horse Review. And it's really interesting when you go into some of these different newspapers, isn't it, Michelle?
I'm just going to say every home needs a copy.
Well, you know, I must admit, I might have a few annual reviews of the Trotting World sitting on my bookshelf from New Zealand, because of the fact that I picked them up because they were at the church fair and they seem to have lots of names in them, and it would be a really good idea to have them. And I was flicking through them and managed to find that actually one of my extended family members was a racecourse driver. I didn't know that. You know, so you never know who you might find in that, and it might add to the family story.
So when are you indexing them and creating a data set? Donate to the Wilson collection.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, how many hours are in the day?
Oh, well, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, thanks. And of course, some more updates this week as well. Over to My Heritage. Interesting collection, this one, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm going to go and check myself. I only saw you because we reviewed the slides this morning, and I thought, oh, I'll be in there. Tony will be in there. So this would be the public data that's ABN information that any of us can go and look up. Yeah.
Yeah. It is good though when the companies actually take some of this public data and mix it in with the other records, because it might be a website that you've never seen, never gone to, and they've actually added it to the collection, and it starts to build that history of what's actually happening for some of our ancestors. So it's really quite cool.
And gives you addresses and locations to go with it in that ABN.
Does. And jumping over to Europe, this has what is updated for the family trees, but also some new records. 1766 Irish religious census. Woohoo! But I'm not big on Ireland. I'm much happier with that Scotland collection hiding in the middle there.
Yes, we often have a debate, but
we do indeed.
We still like each other.
jumping over to America, a few new things hiding in there as well. Now, of course, while we're recording this is actually happening live at the moment, which is the 24-hour genealogy webinar marathon. Hopefully you're not distracted when we put this out tonight, although we'll let you watch it tomorrow instead, perhaps.
Yes, I'm sure they'll watch it at some point. We're only 2.5 hours into the marathon.
We are. Also, over on the genealogist, I like the look of these police gazettes, I have to say.
They're a little bit more exciting than some of the other ones where the photos are actually in the context of the paper rather than on one sheet, which was clearly a printing solution in other countries, but this is lovely.
Yeah, and it's interesting how some are photos and some are sketches as well.
Yeah.
And those years covering 1901, 1911, 1921, 1931. So it's interesting to see the census years as well for that first release. So that will be interesting to go and see just who might be in trouble.
Yes, like the Queen of 40 Thieves. I like that one.
Yeah, that was really cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Big news, Michelle?
Yes, and globally big news. I saw so many historians around the world on Twitter being very happy about the news that was it a ploy by the department to write how great Trove is, yet we're not getting enough funding. But it's great that they've been given, $9 million for ongoing indexing funding too. So yeah, let's see how we all going forward and how many new things come out in a hurry.
Yeah, and funny you should say that because there are some nice new releases as well that have just been released. I like this whole collection of military-based magazines and newspapers because so many of our ancestors actually served in these forces, and so it's a nice way of getting access to some of that.
And it's a month where for us it's an important month, which it is absolutely in other countries.
And so working our way around Australia, some New South Wales, some Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, and a huge list of Victorian newspapers floating in there as well. But I must admit, when I was looking at this, I did notice this little thing at the top that said, coming soon to Trove. And I thought, I'll just have a quick look at that list as well. And this is what caught my eye mostly on this list, which is the Migrant Diaries project. I've been reading quite a few Migrant Diaries just recently for some research I'm doing. And the idea that these are going to be digitized is a very nice thing to look forward to.
It's very nice. It's a nice flow on from the last news we had with the PRO doing a number of diaries from the wars. Yeah. Excellent.
And so it's always good because although your ancestor may not have written a diary, finding a diary of the same voyage that they came out is huge. And I know we have an index in New Zealand that was available on Microfiche called the Shipboard Diary Index. So yeah, getting access to those is always good. I thought this was a really cool little article about why you wear gloves when you are touching some documents at archives. This is on the Archives New Zealand website. And when I was checking this out and looking at what was around, I also got a pop-up saying, come and do a customer satisfaction survey. And I have to admit, I probably didn't read it properly when I started filling in the survey, because when I was sort of screenshotting this, it was like, this is about the main archives website, not the collection search. So then I had to go and change all my responses to the survey. Because of course I was fired up about collection search instead.
Which we've been going on about that now for 18 months. I think, was it 2 years? Is it 2 years since that February when it went feral?
Yeah, and we know it had to change. We understand that the change had to happen. And I also understand some of the things that happen behind the scenes as well on that. But yeah,
yes,
some things are working better. Absolutely. The new advanced search is definitely better, but it's just a bit clunky. So some things are better.
Yes.
I was having a bit of a look around the rest of Australia just to see what else was happening. And I saw this competition for Northern Territory Literary Awards. And I thought, I bet there's a few researchers out there that probably have something that they could write for a non-fiction award essay.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd point that out, but you will have to be quick because the entries close on Monday, the 15th of May. But maybe you have something that would be suitable for that. Writing is always good.
Yeah, it does. You're supposed to be from the Northern Territory. The opening line, it's for emerging or established writers from across the NT.
Yes, but we might have a few.
We might, or you might know somebody. Better still, you'll all probably know someone who's based there. But yeah, I can think of a few people who know a few people.
Not much in the news itself from National Archives in the UK. These were sort of very low key, but there are some nice records and research blog posts as usual. I'm not sure about the mirror on the wall one, but
You'll never guess what I was thinking about this morning, because I'm writing something that's to do with my West Indian ancestor, and I was thinking about how on a trip the people from Africa have very little body hair, and my father only had very tiny little crinkly, extremely definitely, wiry hair on his chest, compared to other people I've known have been very hairy. And then I started wondering, where do they inherit it from? So I'm giggling because literally that was this morning's process in my head. Which side of the family did my two husbands actually both inherit their extremely hairy chests from? Never mind. So that's one. I don't know.
So also some other ones that flicked in between our last session and this one. So have a bit of a look around. Remember, using some sort of blog reader is a really great way of keeping up with some of these things as well. Now, you'd be obviously listening, Michelle, because you threw this one up.
Yeah, I found this one of the most fascinating interviews from a science point of view, but as a historian as well. And he was talking about so many examples of when the Earth actually had some weather or climatic event and how that affected our ancestors. And he talks historically through periods of climate change as well, because we've always had climate change that's not it's not, I don't mean it politically, he's just talking about all sorts of things that have caused effects. And there's even a discussion about the rise and fall of pandemics, and often how they seem to be that there seems to be a linkage with some volcanic activity. So it's interesting, the whole interview. It's nearly half an hour, or was it longer? No, it's 48 minutes. Absolutely riveting, fascinating. And if anybody wants to buy me a book for Christmas, I want it, because he really was well worth listening to.
It's on your wish list. It definitely won't be on your book depository list any longer, being that's closing down.
Yes, I think we only have till this week to order, and then
something like that.
Yep.
And just a quick reminder that yes, we will be back in this afternoon. Michelle's on at 4 o'clock New Zealand time. I'm on at 5 o'clock New Zealand time. We're probably going to race away from this and just make sure everything's up to date and clean and ready to see you this afternoon. I know both of us had a discussion about making sure we've got the right time for this afternoon, so we will be there.
Yes.
So come join us. And
she's going to make you sing. I'm going to make you cry.
Yeah. And just a reminder that I'm also doing a talk in Queensland online, though, unfortunately. It'd be so much nicer to actually be in Queensland to give this talk, I have to say.
Well, you might like to join me when I go there in September.
Oh, maybe indeed. Hey, now, as usual, thanks for listening. You will find down below this video the links from today's session. You'll also find a sneaky little donate to PayPal button if you'd like to support us in bringing you this news. We do this at the moment out of the goodness of our heart, but these are our income as well.
Yeah.
So please do subscribe.
Yep, keep on the bells. Share it with your genealogy groups, because there's plenty of family history groups out there. We do try and cover the entire English-speaking world, not just Australia and New Zealand. So hoping we will find this shared about. Please share.
And we'll see you back in a couple of weeks' time. Bye.
Bye.
I know. I'm trying to stop the recording, but it just did not want to do it.